In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Welcome back to Glimpses from the Seerah of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. In our previous episode, we discussed about the powerful figures among the ancestors of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the significant events that shaped Mecca before his arrival. Today, we arrived at that blessed moment, the dawn of light after centuries of darkness. In this episode, we journey through the early years of the Prophet ﷺ, his birth and his noble upbringing, his childhood under the care of Halima Sadiya, the loss of his beloved parents and grandfather, and the noble traits he displayed as a young man, honesty, compassion, and courage, long before prophethood. Let's begin with the birth of the Prophet ﷺ to Abdullah and Amina. Among the sons of Abdul Muttalib, Abdullah was known for his handsomeness, character, and noble qualities. Abdullah got married to Amina, who was the daughter of the chief of Banu Zahra. Amina herself was a woman of honor and dignity, and she was of noble rank and lineage. The marriage happened just when the caravan season was about to begin. Abdullah would have spent barely 5 to 6 days with his new bride when he had to depart with a trade caravan bound for Syria. On the return journey, he fell ill. The caravan stopped on its way in Medina, and Abdullah remained there with some of his relatives to recover. Meanwhile, Amina was waiting anxiously for her husband to return so she can inform to him the good news that she was pregnant with his child. However, news came to Amina that Abdullah had passed away in Medina and he was buried there. Amina gave birth to a male child in the month of Rabiul Awwal on a Monday. His grandfather Abdul Muttalib gave him the name Muhammad, which means the praised one. We know that the Prophet ﷺ was born on a Monday as reported in a hadith in Sahih Muslim. When asked why the Prophet ﷺ fasted on Mondays, he replied, "This was the day that I was born, and it was the day that revelation first came to me," as reported in Sahih Muslim. It was a custom amongst the noble families of Quraysh to send their newborn children away for a couple of years to less populated desert areas. Here they would be taken care of by vet nurses. Infant mortality was common in cities like Mecca, and this practice was done to protect the children and raise them in a purer environment. Also, it enabled the child to learn a pure and unadulterated form of the Arabic language. A group of women from the tribe of Banu Sa'd ibn Bakr arrived to Mecca looking for newborns whom they could adopt, and amongst them was Halima bint Sadiya and her husband. Halima had just given birth to a son, and her elder daughter was called Shaima. No one wanted to choose the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ as he was an orphan, and they did not expect to be paid much for the adoption. When it was time to leave, all the vet nurses had adopted a child, but Halima had none. She felt embarrassed to go back without adopting any child, and she consulted with her husband. He encouraged her to adopt the orphan child, saying that perhaps Allah may bless us through this child. As soon as she adopted Muhammad ﷺ, things changed for Halima and her family. They found barakah in their sustenance. Their old she-camels suddenly had her udders filled with milk, and they could all drink to their fill. Halima's donkey was the oldest and slowest in the group, but whenever it would carry her with the Prophet ﷺ, it would become the fastest in the group and overtake everyone else. Halima continued to experience many such miracles throughout the 2 years that the Prophet ﷺ was with her. They were so sure that the barakah was due to the adopted child that Halima would go to Amina, pleading and requesting to extend the stay of Muhammad ﷺ for a little longer, and Amina would grant it to her. It's narrated in Sahih Muslim, Hadith number 162c, that when the Prophet was 4 years old, Angel Jibreel alayhi salam came to him. The other children who were playing with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam ran away while young Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood there. Jibreel alayhi salam overpowered him and forced him onto the ground. He then opened up the chest of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, took out his heart and removed a black slither from his heart. Jibreel alayhi salam then said, "This is Shaitan's portion in you." It is reported in Sahih Bukhari, number 3286, that Shaitan pricks the heart of every baby as soon as they are born. This is why newborns cry when they come out of the womb. Jibreel alayhi salam then washed the Prophet's heart in a golden cup of Zamzam water, put it back and sealed his chest, as reported in Sahih Muslim. Many decades later, Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu remarked, "I could see the mark of stitching on his chest." Sahih Muslim, number 162c. This incident worried Halima, and she decided to return the Prophet ﷺ back to his mother before anything else happened. It is the sunnah of Allah that the prophets have perfect character. This event was Allah's preparing the Prophet ﷺ for a life of exemplary conduct. Shortly after Halima returned the baby to his mother, Amina decided to take young Muhammad ﷺ to Yathrib, Medina, to meet with her relatives. They stayed there for a few months, and on the way back to Mecca, Amina fell ill and passed away in a small settlement on the way called Al-Abwa. Muhammad ﷺ was then entrusted to his grandfather Abdul Muttalib at about the age of 6 or 7, when both of his parents had passed away. Abdul Muttalib was the chief of Mecca, and amongst all his grandchildren, he loved Muhammad the most. Abdul Muttalib had a raised platform near the Kaaba, where he would sit to discuss the affairs of the Quraysh. He would only allow Muhammad ﷺ to sit along with him in that platform. At the age of 8, Muhammad ﷺ became an orphan for the third time, when his grandfather and the chief of Mecca, Abdul Muttalib, also passed away. He was then entrusted to his uncle, his father's blood brother, Abu Talib. The Prophet ﷺ was an orphan, and there are many hadiths about taking care of orphans. It is narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said, "I am the one who takes care of orphan would be like this in Jannah." And he pointed to his 2 fingers together, as reported in Sahih Muslim. Now let's move to the early life of the Prophet ﷺ, first job and the Fijar Wars. The first job of Muhammad ﷺ was to tend to the flock of the people of Mecca as a shepherd for some monetary benefit. There are some significant incidents that happened between the early life of Muhammad ﷺ and before his prophethood. When the Prophet ﷺ was around 15 years old, a tribal war called Fijar War broke out between the Kinana, who were part of Quraysh on one side, and Hawazin tribe on the other. What happened was that a person from Kinana killed a man from the branch of Hawazin tribe. So people from Hawazin attacked the Kinana tribe. The people of Kinana, which included the Quraysh, rushed into the Haram for safety. In their anger, the Hawazin tribe entered into the Haram and attacked the people of Kinana. Killing a man was wrong, but attacking the people inside of Haram was a much bigger crime. So although the initial mistake was from Quraysh, since the sanctity of Haram was broken by the other tribe, an all-out war was declared by the Quraysh. The Hawazin were winning the battle initially, but later the Quraysh won over. Finally, a peace treaty was enacted, and the Quraysh paid blood money, and the fighting stopped. Muhammad ﷺ narrated later on in his life that he would assist his uncles in the war by picking up the arrows and handing them over. He further said, "I do not regret participating in the wars." Another incident in the early life of Prophet ﷺ is called the Al-Fuzul Treaty, and Muhammad ﷺ was about 20 years old at that time. a man from Yemen had come to Mecca for Hajj, and he sold his merchandise to a prominent Quraysh businessman and politician named Al-As ibn Wa'il. Al-As evaded payment and continued to stall him and refused to pay him back. This man from Yemen then went to all the sub-tribes of Quraysh requesting their assistance to get back his money. But none of them came forward for his help, since Al-As was from the Quraysh and was a rich and influential person. As a last resort, the man started writing poems and reading it out loud in front of the Kaaba. He wrote that grave injustice has been done by the people of Quraysh to him. How can they cheat him when he came for Hajj? The Quraysh are considered the custodians of the holy house, but they are acting like thieves. The news spread like wildfire, and the pride of the Quraysh was hit. The Prophet's uncle, Az-Zubair ibn Abdul Muttalib, decided that something needs to be done. He convened a gathering of all the senior members of the Quraysh, and they agreed to a treaty. They would side with the oppressed against the oppressor, regardless of which tribe the oppressor belonged to. They declared that even if the oppressed person is from a faraway land and the oppressor is from Quraysh, we will side with the one oppressed. They went in front of the Kaaba and publicly announced this, and they dipped their hands in perfume and put the perfume onto the Kaaba. This was called the Treaty of Al-Fudud, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was among the youngest people who participated in this pact. The Arab tribes had never heard of such a pact before, as the ties of kinship and tribalism were far stronger to them than the rights of a person from another community. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam later narrated that he was a witness to the Treaty of Fudul, and that he would uphold such treaty even in Islam and would not miss participating in such treaty. Ibn Hisham, Sirah al-Nawawiyah. These incidents are noteworthy as they occurred before prophethood, and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam approved and affirmed them after his prophethood as well. These incidents demonstrate how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was involved in his society, even though it was a non-Muslim society. He was involved in the betterment of the society and stood up against injustice of any kind.